Hi, everybody. Welcome to The Right Side with Doug Billings. Thanks for joining me around the planet today. A lot of uproar out there among some conservatives about the new Republican platform released yesterday. The RNC came out with a long list of items that they have that they want to focus on. It reads a lot like a Trump campaign stop, and that's all fine and well, but it's left something off. And some of you are a little upset. I'm going to explain why. No need to be so upset about this platform and what it has seemingly left off. Plus, Project 2025. Oh my gosh, God forbid we should put something forth that would actually return the republic to the divine intent of God and the founding fathers, but liberal heads around the republic exploding over Project 2025. I'm going to give you a little peek inside of that and tell you what it's all about. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, The Right Side with Doug Billings is now upon you. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hey everybody, my name is General Mike Flynn, and I'm here to do a big shout out for my great friend and one of the best in the business, Mr. Doug Billings. Right Side with Doug Billings, Right Side with Doug Billings. Doug is the future of the airwaves when it comes to independent broadcasters and podcasters. He is the new Rush Limbaugh. He's exactly what America needs right now, looking for honesty, looking for wisdom, looking for truth, looking for patriotism. Listen to Doug Billings at Right Side with Doug Billings. God bless you and God bless America, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are winning. We're winning. Welcome to The Right Side with Doug Billings. Are you ready?
We are not liberal snowflakes who melt away in the face of tragedy, adversity, and challenge. We are a covenant nation under God, and His divine providence is not dead and it's not gone. It is living within each and every one of you. And you will bring it to life in such a way that the world has never seen before. We never back down. We never give up. We march forward.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to The Right Side with Doug Billings, where I always express viewpoints from the side of liberty, life, light, and logic. Logic key among them. You, because you watch the program. You become members of the most intellectually mature audience in all of podcast land. And I'm going to depend on you being that tonight. We're going to talk about the Republican platform. It was put forth, published yesterday. And today, of course, talking heads and pundits all across the Republic and on social media platforms everywhere are discussing it. Now, the platform itself, great points. It's a long list, not nearly as long, by the way, as the Republican platform was in 2016 when President Trump ran for the first time. I'll get into that in some detail here in a minute. But the long list of items that they want to focus on, strategy for the next 4 years, basically, is what this platform boils down. You know, it's caused a certain degree of angst among conservatives and within the MAGA community specifically. So I want to take the first half of the show today and explain that this platform and this reaction are not in balance with each other. The platform is not as bleak as you may think it is. It's not as dire as some of you think that it is. So let's begin by talking about what's in the platform, first of all. It's titled, they actually gave it a specific title. Guess what it is? Make America Great Again. Okay. Those words, I've said it time and time again, those are great words. No one who's not a partisan and who is not intellectually immature has any problem with those words. We all want America to be great. When America's great, we're great. When we're great, America's great. It's a reciprocal relationship between us and the Republic. So it's only political hacks that come out and pretend as if the phrase "Make America Great Again" is somehow a bad phrase or somehow a negative one. It's what could possibly be wrong with the phrase? No intellectual maturity behind that at all. So as you would guess, this, because of that title, the platform does in fact mirror President Trump's agenda. And it includes 20 action points that we've all heard mentioned several times in his campaign speeches. So when you read this thing, it will not surprise you. The Republican National Convention in Milwaukee starts this coming Sunday evening, and President Trump, as you all know, will be nominated as the Republican candidate for president. for the third time, mind you. The entire platform project here that we have seen, the list of these items, it's only 16 pages long, not nearly as long as the 16 pages that was put forth by the Republican Party in 2016. And what a difference these years between then and now have made in America, in the way that we see America and what we see happening to America. Obviously, we have the radical left coalition of immorality, the Commune Socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, putting forth policy after policy that does everything that it can to, in the words of Barack Obama, fundamentally transform America. And what he means by that, of course, is that they want to fundamentally transform America away from two key foundations. One, transform it away from the divine providence of God and the intent of God and the inspiration of this republic. And number two, transform America away from the intent of the founding fathers. That's what they mean by that. The same kind of playing with words and verbiage that they use with their slogan a couple of years ago. Remember the motto, Build Back Better? I was the first one to broadcast out, wait a minute, they left out a word because it's obvious. Again, for those of you in the audience, I know you and I, members of the most intellectually mature audience in all of podcast land, right? We know when they say things like Build Back Better, it doesn't sound quite right because they say that, but the actions of their policies don't align with those words. What in America going on right now is building back better? There is nothing. All we see is chaos, destruction, the absence of law and order, a disregard for human life, the immigration problem. We can go on and on, lack of energy independence. So what they left out with the motto Build Back Better was the first key word. Now, this first key word is not left out when they share the motto. When the radical liberal coalition of immorality are sharing emails and on Zoom calls and Skype calls across the country, they include the first word that the rest of us weren't given. That first word is destroy. Destroy, build back better. That is the Commune Socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party mantra. Destroy it and then build it back better. And better in quotes, not better to you and me, but better in that to them. Better meaning in their image, in their radical liberal image. And along with that, I was also the first one to say 4 years ago, I remember the day distinctly. It was in January of 2021. I had just started this program. The border crisis was just beginning. It had not blown up into what we know it today. But even then, I was saying, wait a minute, this border issue, this article within the Commune Socialist platform is designed for only a couple of things, really, at the end of the day. Number one, they want to dilute the American identity. No doubt about it. Look at what's happening in France and the UK. We had great hope for their elections. Didn't turn out so well over there. The radical left is destroying the national identity of France and of England, so much so that they don't know who they are anymore. Muslims coming into that country, voting themselves in, they get elected, they change the dynamic. The same thing beginning to happen here. To look at Detroit, look at other places in the country. You know what I mean. This is correct. So number one with them, the Democratic platform, the border crisis, let's dilute the American identity. Let's weaken America's self-concept. Let's start to destroy American exceptionalism. That's number one with regards to why they're opening up the borders. Number two, they want these millions upon millions of illegal immigrants to become part of their new electoral base. I've said it since January of 2021, both of these points. And if you think that these immigrants who aren't coming across the border illegally aren't being handed blank ballots and being told to drop them off over there with the guy in the white van, Jose, go ahead, just take them right over there and we will. Oh, Ahmed, yeah, you too, you and your family, take the box of ballots, give them to that guy in the white van over there. Oh, and in return for that, we're going to give you free housing, free education, free health care, and everything else imaginable. Free stuff in return for your vote. If you think it's not happening, folks, you're wrong. And it's been going on for 4 years. So yes, so Congress, the Republican side, passes legislation, puts something forth. voter ID, American citizenship needed to vote. Democrats have no intention of passing that. None. Because of what I've just mentioned. So that's a part and parcel of what's going on the Commune Socialist, formerly known as Democrat side. But on the Republican side, we have now this document. And it's a good document. It's a good platform. But it's left a couple of things out that has caused some people to have conniption fits. One of the key differences and the reasons between what this document represents today in 2024 and what the document that the Republican Party put forth in 2016 is that in 2016, President Trump had no hand in writing the document. This time, in 2024, his fingerprints are all over it. This is his document. And that's why it looks like, or it reads like, a stump speech of a Trump campaign. And that's okay. Again, because the talking points at a Trump rally are good talking points. But Trump and the Republican National Committee, co-led by Laura Trump, his daughter-in-law, have now said publicly they're going to work in tandem. There is going to be no disconnect between the president and the RNC. Okay, fine. We're all doing well so far, right? But this time around, Trump, the RNC, they're going to be there together, no disconnects. And Trump is going to lay down the law about what is and what is not in that platform. And that's okay, as it should be. I think any nominee from their party should have that right and that ability. The platform itself, interestingly enough, is dedicated to the forgotten men and women of America, quote unquote, the forgotten men and women of America. So overall, the policy action items relate to concerns of blue-collar workers, and that includes this no tax on tips, which is, if you've been paying attention on social media, it's getting a lot of attention over there. A lot of people taking pictures of their bar tab or their restaurant tab and writing on the receipt, "Vote Trump for no taxes on tips," and they're posting that on social media. I've done it myself. And so that no tax on tips issue is just one of the things the platform stands for, but it's one that's got some traction in social media. So it also talks about making the United States, again, a quote-unquote manufacturing superpower. And this was done the first time around with President Trump. Jobs coming back to America, manufacturing jobs, companies not leaving America but building plants within the United States. A word about jobs and what the Biden administration will tell you. They're all they are is, record numbers of jobs created in the last 4 years. No, not true. And Trump touched on this in the debate a couple of weeks ago against Administrator Biden. The jobs that Biden and his staff and the Democratic Communist Socialist Party are talking about are rebound jobs. They're jobs that are now being filled that were abandoned during COVID. And remember, it was the radical left that shut down and wrecked this economy. So let me take a short break. Remind you before I go that I would like you very much to go over to DougBillings.us and support the program over there. DougBillings.us. Click on the donate tab. Prayerfully consider whatever you can afford. I give you the show for free. So just consider what you think the truth is and donate accordingly, please. It's how we continue to produce and deliver the show. It's how I make a living. So I depend on you for that support. I give you the truth and analysis that's correct about the state of play in America. As you think and ponder that, I will be right back after you take this glorious trip into capitalism. Stay with me. I'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Melissa and I have been taking Bella Grace, this powerful elixir, since last fall, 2023. The results have been amazing. My hands would crack and bleed, deep cuts and cracks every winter for years. No matter what we did, we couldn't get them to stop cracking and bleeding. This year, I took Bella Grace, no cracking, no bleeding. My acid reflux, gone. Haven't had to take a Pepcid. My hair growth, the last 2 times I had my hair cut, the lady had to use thinning shears on my hair. That's amazing. We've also received incredible feedback from you, our listening audience, and the impact it's had for you. This is loaded with astaxanthin. That's a powerful antioxidant. Collagen, but top grade collagen. Studies show 95% of it is being absorbed in the body because of the way they develop it. Then we have something called cat's claw. That's an anti-inflammatory from a vine in Peru. It's the bark, and it's an anti-inflammatory. There are about 80 clinical trials on Bella Grace. Please get a subscription now and save. MelissaHousebg.com. We live in uncertain times. In fact, we live at a time when our own governments all over the world are warning us that there could be big problems with our power grid. World War III seems to be right on the horizon. Let me ask you this. Do you have a satellite phone? Should communications go down with cell towers? Do you have a satellite phone to get a hold of that college student or your spouse who travels, whatever it might be, to get a hold of your senior adult parents? We have satellite phones at worldviewtalk.com, and you get the satellite phone for free when you sign up for their very reasonable payment programs for the service. Sign up for the service with a reasonable contract, get the satellite phone for free. Worldviewtalk.com. You'll also find they have, well, what I now have, which is a solar generator. Yeah, I have a gas generator, an LP propane generator, but what if that goes down? I want to back up to my backup. So I now have a solar generator as well. You'll find them at worldviewtalk.com. Check it out today, worldviewtalk.com.
The Right Side with Doug Billings, where we meet in determined prayer and determined patriotism.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Right Side with Doug Billings, where I'm doing what I've been called by God to do to save the Republic from the chaos of the radical left coalition of immorality, doing it with your help every night right here. WorldViewTube.com, Spreely TV, Facebook. We're on X Live. We're on Rumble Live, YouTube Live. We're everywhere. And I especially like you when you go over to DougBillings.us. Thank you very much for supporting us over there. So the radical left coalition of immorality, wreckage of the economy, jobs coming back now. They're wrongfully claiming it's because of the Biden economy. Look, folks, Bidenomics, are you kidding me? Yes, the stock market continues to climb. The stock market is not related to how you and I live our daily lives. It's not related to the price of groceries and fuel and so forth and the cost of living and inflation. That's where we're struggling. So this RNC platform release we're talking about, I'm going to dive into it, giving you a little taste of what's in it, because I want to talk about the frustration that some of us have, some of you have out there. I don't share that frustration. Some of you have it because of some of the things that it seemed to leave out. So also inviting you to give me a call. If you want to talk about any of this tonight, the phone number 901-316-8404, 901-316-8404. Would love to talk to you about these topics, about what your thoughts are on the RNC and their platform. And I'm also going to talk later in the program about Project 2025. Oh, my God. Liberal heads around the world exploding. Project 2025. Because after all, Project 2025 is all about restoring America to the divine providence of God and the Founding Fathers' intent. But let's talk about it. You and me, 901-316-8404. 901-316-8404. Okay, so back to the Republican platform released yesterday. Let's pick up here. Making America a manufacturing superpower. Part of what they want to do. Blue-collar jobs, middle-class America, taking care of them, bringing jobs back, creating more jobs, creating more wealth, etc. That also talks about making the American dream affordable again. As I was just saying a moment ago, you can't afford to be an American these days. You can't afford to live and feed your family. Inflation sky high. So it pledges to reduce the costs of housing. The Republican committee is promising to reduce the price of higher education and health care. All right. And again, it mentions things that you and I have seen and heard at almost every America First Trump rally, the things that MAGA patriots will recognize. So a few of these items, the GOP acknowledges and pledges their support for law and order. And they want to pledge their effort to stop the flow of drugs that's coming across the country. Now, folks, we're never going to be able to live in a society that's completely crime-free. You know this, and not drug-free. But for crying out loud, what we've seen for the last 4 years, just carte blanche ability for the cartels to run their drugs up, run children, traffic children, and adults, for that matter, up and through the United States. Law and order, stopping the drugs, stopping the crime, and at the same time protecting people from government overreach. Another point in the document that they spend some time talking about, a traditional Republican promise to protect our Second Amendment. The right to bear arms shall not be infringed. You know, ladies and gentlemen, aside from violent criminals and felons, the only document that we should be required to produce in order to own and have a firearm is the Constitution of the United States. There are so many federal bureaucracies and requirements that impede that right. This makes liberals go crazy. But if we're getting back to the intent of the founders, shall not be infringed, folks. Those words matter. Oh, but Doug, I can hear the liberals right now. All they had were muskets back then, man. Come on. We got all of these automatic weapons and nonsense out there on the streets. You don't need this. Ladies and gentlemen, the musket was one of the most advanced, if not the most advanced firearm of the time when the founding fathers were drafting our Declaration of Independence and our Constitution. The musket was one of, if not the most advanced firearms in the world. And the founders wanted unfettered access to that for its people in the United States. Shall not be infringed. So don't give me this nonsense, well, all they had were muskets. Well, it was the most advanced firearm of its day. Likewise, we should be able to have those rights afforded us. If we want a firearm, we have a right, and it's God-given, by the way, to have it. And the only ID or document I need to show for that is the Constitution of the United States. I pray to God we can get back to, I know, liberals and some moderates admit it. Some of you, that makes you uncomfortable. Now, remember, the preface to this was that violent criminals and felons, the founders clearly didn't intend for felons and criminals to have open access to firearms. You and me, normal people, absolutely so. Absolutely. So also in that, with the protection of the Second Amendment, the Republican National Committee has pledged protection of freedom of speech and religion. Okay, continuing on with what they've done before. Also, they focused on a desire to end the weaponization of government and withholding funding from schools that would promote such things as critical race theory or gender ideology. Okay, no more money for schools that promote that nonsense. There's good news surrounding that, and I've mentioned this on a few shows in the past. A couple of 2023 and 2022, we had, because of your good involvement in your local communities, you know, that's been our rallying cry. Get involved in your local level. Forget Washington, D.C. You, John and Jane Doe, Mr. and Mrs. Patriot on the streets of America, get involved in your local level. And because you've done that, you've gotten involved in school boards and so forth. And 14 states, as a result of your involvement, have outlawed the use of critical race theory in their school curriculums. That's good news. 14 states is a great start. Got a lot more to go. We keep on going. And that's where we are called to take action in the states. I'm going to get and talk more about this in a minute with regard to a key issue that faces us as conservatives. It's an issue that some of you are upset about today. But remember what I'm saying about local involvement in your states, in your counties where you live. This is crucial. If we want to protect our kids in schools, if we want to retain our Second Amendment rights, right to speech, right to religion, it's crucial that we get involved in our local county levels of government. More on that coming up. But something in this platform that doesn't get mentioned, interestingly enough, is balancing the federal budget, eliminating the national debt, and reducing the size of the federal bureaucracy. Now, those things are going to be part of Trump's agenda. They just didn't put them in this document. Let me explain, especially in light of the role that I think my friend General Michael Flynn is going to play. Now, I have spoken with General Flynn, and I have, in a certain amount of jest, suggested this to him. He has no way himself confirmed any of this, but I have mentioned it. I think it's a good idea. And here's just my hunch, my intuition about how and where General Flynn should be used. He, I think, needs to be appointed by Trump in a capacity that does not require congressional approval. Too much time and too much nonsense goes on in those congressional hearings. We don't have time for that. So Trump should appoint Flynn to be a czar of accountability, or the secretary of accountability. I think it's got a good ring to it. You've heard me say this before, but it bears mentioning today in light of this platform that has been released by the RNC. And I know that there's a lot of you out there who rather like the idea of General Flynn being vice president to Donald Trump. I'm asking you, don't be seduced by that idea, and don't be seduced by the people who put it forth. Because General Flynn, no offense to those people, everybody can have their opinion, but listen to the analysis and listen to the reasons why. General Flynn is much too important to the role of vice president, and he will function much more effectively when he's unshackled from the job description of that role. The Secretary of Accountability, the Czar of Accountability, whatever the title may be, I think that it will involve General Flynn focusing on these areas: gutting, cleansing, purging the Department of Justice, which, as you know, includes the FBI and the CIA. I think that he will go in and absolutely disembowel and eliminate, yes, eliminate the Department of Education, which has done absolutely nothing for our children except indoctrinate them against the traditional American values that have made us exceptional. And they have taught children to turn away from the divine providence of God and the intent of the founding fathers. Department of Education, goodbye. Next, to reduce, General Flynn and his Secretary of Accountability, to reduce, if not eliminate, the Departments of Energy, the Departments of the Interior, and look, the energy, no. Each state can manage their own energy needs, and the Interior, Parks and Recreation, national monuments, and so forth. Get the federal government out of that. Let the states, let the states that have state parks and monuments manage them. Federal government gets their fingertips in too much stuff. And then finally, because he's too important for the vice presidency, I think that General Flynn is going to help Trump withdraw the United States from membership from the United Nations. So, with no offense to anybody who's on that list to be vice president, Flynn is too important for that role. And the vice president, besides all of that, should be someone who, in my opinion, should be young, dynamic, and charismatic. A MAGA conservative, obviously, but young, dynamic, and charismatic. Somebody who can be our standard bearer. Because look, we're not just after 2024 here. We're after 2028 and 2032. So the vice president should be somebody young enough, somebody who is dynamic enough and charismatic enough to take over in 2028 and 2032, in my opinion. And that rules out some of the people that are on the list. And I like the guy very much. I believe that he has a role to play behind the scenes with Trump. There's another guy that some of you like for vice president, Dr. Ben Carson. But those words, young, dynamic, charismatic. Dr. Carson is always the most brilliant man in any room that he's in. I love the guy. I honor his work as a doctor, as a surgeon. I honor his patriotism. But ladies and gentlemen, and with all due respect, Dr. Carson, it's like listening to a sleeping pill. And we just need more oomph, youth, passion, charisma. That's the vice president. So when we come back in the last couple of segments, I want to finish up talking about the platform and the one word that it didn't, or the one concept, I should say, that it didn't mention, that has a lot of you MAGA conservatives, Christian Americans, a little bit pissed off, to be honest with you. It doesn't mention or gives little attention to the right to life. But don't panic. I've got a reason why you shouldn't panic. It all makes sense when it's explained. DougBillings.us, ladies and gentlemen, head over there. Not now, but after the show. DougBillings.us. Consider a monthly recurring donation over there. And I will be right back after this break. Stay with me. Cheers.
twc.health/Brandon. This is one of our sponsors, has been now for a few years. Here it is. You just go there. If you use that URL, folks, you not only save money, but our program gets credit, which helps us keep doing great shows like this for free and pushing them out. twc.health/Brandon. Look up here at the top of the page where it says Med Kits. Go down there to the one that says Contagion Emergency Kit. Contagion Emergency Kit. That's the one you want, right, Dr. McCullough?
Right. That's going to cover bird flu. Just you start on day one. I think all the animal workers, people in rural areas need to have these. You can't wait around for the pharmacist. If you start early, that comes with telemedicine. We can intensify the antivirals, get other drugs going. Very affordable. Join through Brandon's website. Join as a member because we're working on ways to replace the used drugs, and you have to be a member to get that advantage.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Melissa and I have been taking Bella Grace, this powerful elixir, since last fall, 2023. The results have been amazing. My hands would crack and bleed, deep cuts and cracks every winter for years. No matter what we did, we couldn't get them to stop cracking and bleeding. This year, I took Bella Grace, no cracking, no bleeding. My acid reflux, gone. Haven't had to take a Pepcid. My hair growth, the last 2 times I had my hair cut, the lady had to use thinning shears on my hair. That's amazing. We've also received incredible feedback from you, our listening audience, and the impact it's had for you. This is loaded with astaxanthin. That's a powerful antioxidant. Collagen, but top grade collagen. Studies show 95% of it is being absorbed in the body because of the way they develop it. Then we have something called cat's claw. That's an anti-inflammatory from a vine in Peru. It's the bark, and it's an anti-inflammatory. There are about 80 clinical trials on Bella Grace. Please get a subscription now and save. MelissaHousebg.com.
The Right Side with Doug Billings, where we meet in determined prayer and determined patriotism.
Everybody, welcome back to The Right Side with Doug Billings. Indeed, right over here, walking with you shoulder to shoulder. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in this together. We are just a few months away from one of the most important elections in America's history. And the Republican National Committee put out their platform yesterday, and many of you have had a reaction to it that is, shall we say, less than favorable because it has apparently not satisfied your need to have more right to life action in it. And it doesn't deal with our feelings about abortion and so forth. So I understand those feelings. First of all, completely honor those feelings, but I'm going to explain why I think that is an overreaction and how we cannot let this Republican National Committee platform document dissuade us away or persuade us away from support of President Trump and the conservative movement in America. Let me explain by taking a few steps back and then a couple steps forward here. So Roe v. Wade, ladies and gentlemen, to understand why President Trump feels the way he does about the entire right to life issue, abortion issue, and so forth. Roe v. Wade was overturned, rightly so, because it was faulty. It was faulty legislation, and the federal government has no right or jurisdiction to issue verdicts or decisions via the Supreme Court or any other federal branch of government, right, regarding personal lives of American citizens. It does not have the right to do it. They got it wrong first with Roe v. Wade. So the current Supreme Court, in a decision that is absolutely the correct one and in alignment with the Founding Fathers and the Constitution, returned the issue of abortion to the individual states within our republic. Now, all of you, again, because you're members of the most intellectually mature audience in all of podcast land, you know this already. Just a refresher course for those that might not. So each state now has the responsibility to decide abortion. And this is as it should be, ladies and gentlemen. It's how it's intended in the Constitution. I'm the biggest pro-life guy you'll ever know, and I know that many of you are out. Each state has the right, the obligation to deal with this issue. And even more precisely than that, each patriot within each state now bears the responsibility to work diligently to vet and put forth and elect true, verified MAGA conservatives Why is this so important and crucial? As if you didn't already know. I know that you know it, but it needs to be said out loud. And this needs to be shared. We have to get involved in our local government. We have to vet people that are running as Republicans. There's too many problems with not doing so. And in that when we do that, when we get a grip on our local governments, in our local communities, in our city government, in our county government, and in our state government, we then begin to endeavor, once we get people in those levels of government, city, county, state, who are like-minded, like us, then we begin to put forth legislation within each state that will limit, if not eliminate, abortion. That's how we attack it. So the disappointment and in some cases anger that's coming forth from conservative social media influencers, conservative pundits, and so forth is, in my opinion, is misguided. President Trump is doing the right thing with this issue. He's reminding us that the power to reduce or eliminate abortion resides with us, with we the people, within the states in which we live. That's how we do it. That's how it's intended. And we surrender no moral high ground when we do this. The right to life is a winner for us. It's a winning issue. We surrender none of the moral high ground that we own surrounding this issue. We have got to do the work of what I call determined patriotism. You hear me say it almost every day. We meet, you and I, right here in determined prayer and determined patriotism. And that's what it's going to take. Determined prayer and determined patriotism in your local levels of government to vet true American First MAGA candidates, to get them into office, to then begin to legislate this issue. This is not something that's designed to be solved with a snap of the fingers. The federal government, as much as I would like the ability to just say, okay, no more abortions in America. That's not the intent of the founding fathers. Not talking about just abortion. They didn't know the issue of abortion. But I'm saying in their mind, the federal government couldn't just make those edicts. We don't have a king, contrary to what radical left liberals are telling you about the rulings recently of the Supreme Court. There is no king to usher down an edict upon us. We have to do this through the processes and precepts, the rubrics of which the founders gave us. And that means, look, the answers to all of our conservative questions and dilemmas and the issues and the chaos that we face in America, the answer to all of it is found within the will and the determination of we the people in the actions of determined patriotism at the state level and down into your county and city levels of government. That's where we win. Again, forget Washington, D.C. Forget it. Change never starts in Washington, D.C. It always happens right where you are, right where you live, your county, your state, your city, your township. So don't lose heart about this, and don't let this correct pathway forward prevent you from believing in the ultimate goal of what Trump and the party has in mind. God forbid, don't let this cause you to withdraw support from President Trump. Don't be a Jenna Ellis. She's a kook out there spewing stuff about this kind of saying that evangelicals are going to leave and this and that. I understand, but once, I promise you, you take a deep breath, you walk in off the ledge of panic, you come into the room of intellectual maturity and the room of reality, you understand. This is not easy. Our work as determined patriots. It is not easy at all, but it is required. And that's what we will do. We do not back down, we conservatives. When adversity, challenge, and tragedy strikes, we march forward. And we understand that through all of that, there are blessings waiting to be born. Don't cause this to make you withdraw your support from President Trump. The RNC, this outline of the platform didn't mention as much as you would have liked about the right to life and the issue of abortion. It's not a reason to abandon the cause, because the cause isn't solved at the national level, my friends, solved at the state. Our continued fight to protect the life of everyone, especially those who are most innocent, the unborn among us, this fight doesn't reside within the halls of Congress. It doesn't revolve around any place in Washington, D.C. Our fight to protect the right to life begins and ends with you and with me standing shoulder to shoulder and working hard. If there's one thing that we have not done very good, we as conservatives, we've not done a good job. That's involvement, getting involved in our local levels. We have done great things, conservatives, but we have not done this. We look back over these last 4 years, and in many ways since 2020, it seems as if a lot of this was just sprung on us all of a sudden, right? The chaos all of a sudden just began. The theft of an election, the election integrity issues sprung up, right? Oh my gosh. It's been going on for 126 years, folks. 126 years. I'm not just pulling that number out of the hat. We have not been involved, by and large, we conservatives. We've gone to great wars, and we've won them. Pat on the back for that. We've raised families with American traditional values. Another high five for that. Great work. Well done. But we don't get involved. We don't vote as often as we should. This is primary season. Many of you, August 6th is the primary election. I can't tell you the dreadful statistics. What is it, 15, 20%, maybe even less of the electorate show up to vote in primary. We have got to show up in primary season. You know, you have a slate of candidates on our side, conservative candidates that are running for office. Have you vetted them? Do you know that if your Republican committee, men and women in your state, have a vetting process that they engage in? If they don't, they should. And if they put up a fight and an argument against vetting, that person, I'm telling you, is a rhino or a part of the establishment swamp that needs to go. Well, who's going to determine who's a Republican and who's not? The candidate will determine by virtue of the answers to the questions. You come up with a slate of questions that are America First, conservative, patriot questions. If elected, will you do this? Will you do that? Will you support this? Will you support that? The candidate, if he or she is running for re-election, has a record that you can compare. If not, if it's a first-time candidate, you get their answers, they're on record, having been vetted. Then you hold them accountable. That's how you do it. It makes perfect sense. To not do that is the absolute height of intellectual immaturity. Do I need to tell you about the rhino problem that we have in the Republican Party? There are people in your neighborhood, people in your county, I can tell you right now, in your state, who are not Republicans. They're Democrat, liberal, fanatics that know that they cannot win as such. They can't win as a Democrat in that particular district that they're in. So they register as a Republican, and they're unvetted, they're unchecked. So they get on the ballot, and in many cases they win. And we scratch our heads later and wonder, why is John Doe, Republican in Congress, voting with the liberals every time? Because he's a liberal. He fooled you. He played you. We've got to do due diligence with regards to this. And so it's the same thing. All of this applies, again, to the right to life issue in your state. So do not be discouraged with the verbiage or the lack of it with regards to that issue in this Republican platform, because that issue resides with you and me in our states. I'd love to talk with you about it. Love to talk with you about this. If you have any inclination at all to give a call, 901-316-8404, 901-316-8404. When we come back from the break, I'm going to say a few things before we go to the break, but when we come back, I'm going to talk about Project 2025. Project 2025, ladies and gentlemen, it's like a crucifix in front of a vampire for liberals. Whoa, they can't stand it. Their heads are exploding. I'm going to tell you why they're exploding and why it's not such a bad thing, this project. But before you go, please consider DougBillings.us, ladies and gentlemen, my website, DougBillings.us. This is where and how I make a living, and it's how I bring you the truth. I will always give you the show for free. Not going to charge you for the show, but how much is this worth? How much is this glorious truth and analysis worth to you? Prayerfully consider heading over to DougBillings.us and offering a recurring monthly donation, please. That's how we continue to bring you the show. So kindly and prayerfully consider that, please. DougBillings.us. There it is. Look at that. Beautiful new website. There's a shop over there also, I might add, but there's the donation template. Click on that and prayerfully, again, consider setting up a recurring monthly donation so that we can continue to bring you this program on all of the platforms that you're currently watching. And a special thanks to the people at worldviewtube.com. It's Freely TV. And I'll be right back right after this. Stay with me, ladies and gentlemen. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that you could change the trajectory of your aging process? Look and feel better, live younger, be more active, less pain when you move around, sleep better, diminish the lines and the wrinkles on your face? Really? This is what I'm telling you. It's possible. You see, low stem cell activity happens when we get older. And it could be causing many of the health problems that some people have in the world today. Because as we get older, we have less stem cell activity, which means we age faster and we heal slower. The secret is a clinically proven and patented phototherapy non-transdermal patch, whose technology is the result of over 90 clinical studies and over 20 years of research. Your healthier life can begin today, and you can discover true age reversal. Age reversal, ladies and gentlemen. Please go to liveyounger.doug.us. Liveyounger.doug.us, ladies and gentlemen. Get over there today. Or if you'd like, text my name, Doug, to 41372. Doug, text it, 41372. And get over to liveyounger.doug.us. Get younger, feel younger. I'm doing it. I'm wearing this patch. I feel great. And so will you. God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. For the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
The Right Side with Doug Billings, where we meet in determined prayer and determined patriotism.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. Right Side with Doug Billings. You and me, ladies and gentlemen, in this together every day, working our way through it all. So, yeah, I feel a little passionate about the issue with regards to our work that's required. And so thank you for listening last session of the show. I do believe that's the way forward. You and me together, local involvement, local communities, getting the job done with candidates who are on our side. And another way that the conservative movement in America is endeavoring to restore America to the divine providence of God and the intent of the founding fathers is through something that has been called and is called Project 2025. I'm going to give that just a moment. You hear that? Liberal heads around the republic exploding. The liberals, the trolls that watch and listen, that's him blowing up over there. Project 2025. One of the items in my stack that I wanted to talk about because we need to. And as is the case with so many things that are patriotic, based in American tradition, and based in the intent of the founders, as I said, Project 2025 is being completely spun out of truth by the radical left, completely going crazy on X, on social media platforms all over, on the legacy media outlets everywhere. And it's not surprising. Why is that not surprising? Because Project 2025 stands diametrically opposed to the radical liberal coalition of immorality. That's the reason. I'm going to give you some analysis about this, some correct analysis about what Project 2025 is, and you'll understand why it is. Like I said earlier, it's like holding up a crucifix in front of a vampire. Oh, they can't stand it. Project 2025, run! So the liberals don't understand Make America Great Again. Drives them crazy. I don't know if it's because they didn't think of it first or because they simply don't want America to be great. Which one do you think it is? The latter. They don't even believe in American exceptionalism. They don't believe from their point of view, America is an evil country created on the shoulders of evil men who did terrible things. No American exception. In fact, we owe money. We owe retribution. We owe payments to people who we've abused. Okay, their ancestors. Project 2025 has 4 simple pillars. 4 pillars. Policy agenda, personnel database, and training, and then a 180-day playbook. It's all born from the obvious chaos and the obvious destruction, this transformation away from the intent of America that has been put forth by us, by the liberals on us. And there you just saw it on the screen, part of their webpage, Project 2025. So the radical left have created nothing but chaos on purpose, mind you. There's no accident. This is not collateral damage. This is purposeful action that we're living through right now. Purposeful chaos. And what Project 2025 aims to do is to remedy and reverse the damage that the radical left communist socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, has caused us. Because it's not enough, as we know, it's not enough to just win elections anymore. We need a game plan. The radical left have clearly had a game plan. Look at them. It's totally opposite of what we would do, but this is not accidental. This is planned, it's coordinated, and it's on purpose. This radical left reign of terror and chaos. So Project 2025 brings together a large coalition of conservative organizations that have come together to help implement successful conservative administration personnel for beginning in January 2025. So training people to have a part and a role in the next conservative administration coming our way in 2025. Of course, we all hope that involves President Trump, and the project involves vetting personnel that will be involved in the project. Vetting, again, I've mentioned it a few times, this show, very important. It is an appropriate first step that we have to take in the reclaiming of America. To make America great again, we need to take that step of vetting people in our local levels of government to make sure they really are conservative, MAGA Republicans. In our local communities, again, just to reiterate a little bit about what I said in the previous segment, our rhino problem, it's one of our Achilles heels. It is across the republic, in every state, I would wager to say every county. Local Republican committee men and committee women must get on board with this vetting process. If a candidate wants the honor and the privilege of putting an R behind their name on the ballot, they've got to go through the vetting process. Project 2025 helps to teach you how to do this. The people who claim to be Republicans in your local community, if they are claiming that vetting is a bad idea, you can count on two things being true. They're either wildly misinformed or they are a rhino and they're plagued by intellectual immaturity. There is no other alternative. We must vet our candidates. So the Heritage Foundation is at the helm of Project 2025, and they have a director by the name of Paul Dans. Now, he is a former chief of staff at the Office of Personnel Management during the first Trump administration. So underneath the pillar of policy agenda, the goal is to assemble a large number of aligned and vetted, trained, and prepared conservatives to go to work on day one of the new conservative administration. All right? That's all part of the training manual, and it's part of what they have in their call to action. Taking the reins of government, the Department of Defense and other key agencies, including dealing with and how to deal with the media. Another call to action bullet point item in this particular pillar is the general welfare of American citizens. How do we enhance the general welfare of our citizenry? The economy, another bullet point and action item. And then how to deal with and what to do about independent regulatory agencies, OSHA and so forth, the FDA, whatever. So under then the Presidential Personnel Database, don't freak out about the word database, I'll explain. That's going to be where you, if you're interested, are invited to fill out a questionnaire, upload your resume, and be included in the database of people who would like to be considered for a position in a new presidential administration. Project 2025, that's what we're talking about. So it's like an HR resume hub, if you will. Okay, so that's the personnel database pillar. Your ability to get involved if you want to. Then we have the training pillar within the plan. That's where you'll find a top shelf program for training. They've called it the Presidential Administration Academy. And it's designed to prepare and equip future political appointees to be ready right now, day one of the next conservative administration. And what's wrong with that? This is what we need. The left panics because this is such a good idea for us. Such a good idea to teach, train, and have prepared people ready to step in. All you need to know in order to become fully prepared, in order to serve, everything will be taught so that you're ready when the next conservative president of the United States is sworn in. And then finally, we have the 180-day playbook pillar. And there's where the action plans of the first 180 days of the administration aim to provide the fastest relief to American citizens suffering from radical left communist socialist, formerly known as Democrat. There it is on the screen. And you can see this at project2025.com. It's all right there. Makes perfect sense. There is nothing outrageous here. There is nothing controversial here. Again, the reason the liberals are reacting is because they know this is their kryptonite. This is how we win, ladies and gentlemen. It's always a pleasure to be with you. Thank you very much for your support. Head over to DougBillings.us again, please. Prayerfully consider setting up that monthly reoccurring donation so that I can continue to bring you the show. I am happy, honored, and proud.
Welcome to Technocracy News with your host, Patrick Wood, and I'm Logan House, as you might know. Today we're going to be covering